Algebra 2, Section 4.1 is when we were introduced into matrices. So this is, it's a whole new world that you haven't seen even in Algebra 1. So hopefully you can catch on and we'll start off slow. So the first part, we're just going to introduce you to the world of matrices. This is called a matrice. It's usually represented by a letter, okay? And the amount of rows we have here is 4, and columns are 3. So we have 4 rows and 4 columns, and each number in here is called an element. So when I say an element, that means each individual number in there. Okay? The dimension is very important to know how to label the dimension because it plays a part on whether you can do what it's asking you or you end up with no solution. Okay? The dimension is labeled by rows m by columns n, so m by n. So basically it's rows by column. So I have 4 rows by 3 columns, so this is a matrice with the dimension 4 by 3. So go ahead and write this down, and don't forget to pause it and do the vocabulary. And we're going to go into our example. I think there's only one. Okay. Now, we've been dealing before in the chapter before, we went, chapter 3, that systems of equations. So you remember when you have two problems with 2 different variables that you either use substitution or elimination. In this case, it's the same concept except they wrote it differently. So every time they take this, they match it with the element in the same position. Remember corresponding sides that we were doing? So you take this and you put it in different, you match it with the same position. So for example, because this is the top one and this is the top one, we have y equals 3x minus 2, alright? And the bottom one matches the bottom one, so I end up with 3 equals 2y plus x. Look familiar? This is the exact problem that you have dealt with in the other section where you either do substitution or elimination. In this case, we're going to do substitution. Some of you guys are more comfortable with elimination, that's fine. But in this case, substitution would be easier. And so, because we already have a letter solved, so do you see how y is already there? But we can also solve this for x and substitute it as well. It's up to you. But we're going to, well, let's do that. We will solve this for x, so and minus 2y on both sides. Okay, I end up with 3 minus 2y equals x. Right? So remember, we take this into a bubble and we're going to bump it in for this. So I end up with y equals 3 times 3 minus 2y minus 2. So I took this whole bubble and I put it in here, and then now I have this whole equation. Again, we're doing substitution. So my first step here is to distribute. So I end up with y equals 9 minus 6y minus 2. Combine like terms, 9 minus 2 is 7. So y equals 7 minus 6y. I'm going to add 6y to both sides. I end up with 7y equals 7, which then gives me y equals 1. Right? Divide 7 from both sides. So that's my first problem that I solved. Okay? And remember, once I have that, then I can just plug it into either one of my equations. I can plug it into this one. Y is 1. Oh, I'm going to use another color. Okay, 1 equals 3x minus 2. So sorry, I just want you to see. Okay, I'm going to add 2 to both sides. I end up with 3 equals 3x. Divide both sides by 3, I end up with x equals 1. Alright? So, my answer for here is x equals 1, y equals 1, or 1 comma 1. either answer. If you want to do separately or you want to do that, that's fine too. So basically they just wrote the problem in a different way, okay? But you can just take it and you can put it here so that you can solve it with either substitution and elimination. And if you forgot how to do it, go ahead and check the video from the last chapter that has to do with substitution and elimination, and then you should be fine, just to remind yourself. So go ahead and go to page 165, number 4 and 5. So page 165, 4 and 5, and I will see you in class.